The United States, once a symbol of unity and prosperity, now faces a future shrouded in uncertainty. The warning signs are undeniable: deep political division, economic volatility, and a decline in global influence all point towards a potential crisis. While the collapse of the United States might seem unthinkable to some, dismissing the possibility outright would be a grave error. The year is 2025. The United States is grappling with internal and external pressures that threaten its very foundation. From the hallowed halls of Congress to the bustling streets of its cities, a sense of unease pervades the nation. The American dream, once a beacon of hope for so many, seems increasingly out of reach. The upcoming presidential election, a cornerstone of American democracy, has become a source of anxiety rather than hope. The potential for unrest and violence looms large, casting a shadow over the nation's future. The world watches with bated breath, uncertain of what the future holds for the once mighty superpower. The United States has always been a nation of diverse opinions and beliefs. However, in recent years, this diversity has transformed into deep-seated polarization, threatening the very fabric of American democracy. The political landscape has become increasingly fractured, with the two major parties, Democrats and Republicans, entrenched in seemingly irreconcilable positions. This polarization is evident in the lead up to the 2024 presidential election. The potential candidates, including familiar faces like Joe Biden and Donald Trump, represent starkly different visions for the country. The rhetoric employed by both sides has become increasingly hostile, fueling a climate of fear and mistrust. The January 6th Capitol Hill insurrection serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked political extremism. This unprecedented event, where a mob stormed the U.S. Capitol building in an attempt to overturn the results of the 2020 election, exposed the fragility of American democracy. The scars of that day run deep, serving as a constant reminder of the potential for chaos and violence. For decades, the United States has held a position of unparalleled power on the world stage. Its military might, economic dominance, and cultural influence have shaped global affairs in profound ways. However, the 21st century has witnessed a shift in the global balance of power, with new players emerging and challenging American hegemony. The United States' global military presence, once seen as a guarantor of stability, is now increasingly perceived as overreach. With troops stationed in over 150 countries and military bases dotting the globe, the U.S. military is stretched thin, both logistically and financially. The ongoing conflict in Ukraine has further exposed the limits of American power. While the U.S. has provided significant financial and military aid to Ukraine, it has been reluctant to engage directly with Russia, fearing a wider conflict. This hesitancy has been interpreted by some as a sign of weakness, emboldening adversaries like Russia and China. The Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022 marked a turning point in international relations. It shattered the illusion of peace in Europe and exposed the fault lines in the global order. The United States, caught between its commitment to defending democracy and its desire to avoid a direct confrontation with Russia, has faced a difficult balancing act. The Biden administration's decision to provide billions of dollars in military and financial aid to Ukraine has been met with mixed reactions. While some applaud the U.S. for standing up to Russian aggression, others criticize it for escalating the conflict and risking a wider war. The potential return of Donald Trump to the White House in 2024 adds another layer of complexity to the situation. Trump's past praise for Vladimir Putin and his questioning of NATO's relevance have raised concerns about how he might handle the Ukraine crisis if elected. Section 5. Economic uncertainty, a looming crisis. Behind the facade of a global superpower, the United States faces a growing economic crisis. Decades of unsustainable spending, coupled with a decline in manufacturing and a widening wealth gap, have left the U.S. economy vulnerable to shocks. The national deficit, a measure of the government's annual borrowing, has ballooned to unprecedented levels. The COVID-19 pandemic, which began in late 2019, exacerbated these economic woes. Lockdowns and business closures led to widespread job losses and a sharp decline in economic activity. While the economy has shown signs of recovery, the pandemic's long-term economic consequences are still being felt. Inflation, a general increase in prices, has emerged as a major concern for American households. The cost of essential goods and services, such as food, gas, and housing, has risen sharply, eroding the purchasing power of ordinary Americans. The Federal Reserve's attempts to combat inflation by raising interest rates have done little to alleviate the situation. Section 6. The dollar's demise. A harbinger of collapse, the U.S. dollar has long been the world's reserve currency, enjoying a privileged status in the global financial system. However, the dollar's dominance is being challenged as never before. Years of quantitative easing, where the Federal Reserve printed trillions of dollars to stimulate the economy, have eroded confidence in the currency. The growing national debt and the prospect of continued inflation have further undermined the dollar's credibility. Foreign investors, once eager to hold U.S. Treasury bonds, are becoming increasingly wary. Some countries, such as China and Russia, have begun to reduce their holdings of U.S. dollar reserves, opting instead for alternative currencies or assets like gold. A weakening dollar has significant implications for the U.S. economy. It makes imports more expensive, fueling inflation and hurting consumers. It also makes it more expensive for the U.S. government to borrow money, potentially leading to higher interest rates and slower economic growth. Section 7. Social unrest. The fabric unraveling. The economic and political turmoil of recent years has taken a toll on American society. The once vaunted American dream, the idea that anyone can achieve success through hard work and determination, seems increasingly out of reach for many. The gap between the rich and the poor has widened, fueling resentment and social unrest. Cities across the United States have witnessed a surge in crime, homelessness, and drug addiction. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated these problems, leaving many Americans struggling to make ends meet. The lack of affordable housing, healthcare, and education has created a sense of despair and hopelessness among some segments of the population. The erosion of trust in institutions, both governmental and societal, has further deepened the social divide. The media is often accused of bias. Politicians are seen as corrupt, and the justice system is perceived as unfair. This lack of trust has made it difficult to find common ground and address the pressing challenges facing the nation. Section 8. A world transformed. The aftermath of collapse. The potential collapse of the United States would have profound implications for the entire world. As the world's largest economy and military power, the U.S. plays a pivotal role in maintaining global stability. Its absence would create a power vacuum, leading to uncertainty and instability on a global scale. The U.S. dollar's status as the world's reserve currency would likely come to an end, throwing global financial markets into turmoil. Countries and businesses that rely on the dollar for trade and investment would be forced to find alternatives, potentially leading to a fragmentation of the global economy. The U.S. military's withdrawal from its global commitments would have significant geopolitical consequences. Alliances would be strained, regional powers would be emboldened to assert themselves, and the risk of conflict would increase. The world would be a more dangerous and unpredictable place without the stabilizing presence of the United States. Section 9. Conclusion. A call for reflection. The potential collapse of the United States is a sobering thought, but one that must be considered. The warning signs are all around us. Political polarization, economic instability, social unrest, and a decline in global influence. While it is impossible to predict the future with certainty, the current trajectory of the United States is unsustainable. The challenges facing the United States are complex and deeply rooted. Addressing them will require a collective effort from all Americans, regardless of their political affiliation or socioeconomic status. It will require a willingness to engage in civil discourse, to compromise, and to put the common good above self-interest. The future of the United States hangs in the balance. The choices made today will determine whether the nation can overcome its challenges and emerge stronger, or whether it will succumb to the forces of division and decline. The world is watching, hoping that the United States can find a path forward, not just for its own sake, but for the sake of humanity. Thank you for listening. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe.